Hi lovelies, how are you all doing? It is very nearly Christmas and I'm more than a little excited. I only realised yesterday that I should probably start shopping for Christmas presents because like I don't know, with starting a new job, like I'm usually the person who like makes loads of handmade gifts and they're all ready by the end of November and like I can't control myself. But this year, it was what, the 15th yesterday, and that was when I decided that I should start buying Christmas gifts. My Amazon like shopping list has just gone like, it's blown up. Anyway, so that's not what I'm talking to you about today because that would be boring, talking about my Amazon shopping list of lots of like stuff. Yeah, today I'm going to be doing my wrap up of my favourite 2017 reads. This was an amazing year because it's the year that I finally fully committed to my Sarah J Maas addiction, obsession, love, like fest thing, and it was pretty good, not gonna lie. I absolutely loved my Sarah J Maas Loveathon, and I will continue to next year. AKA go and check out my 2018 Can't Wait to Read video when it goes up in like a week. Plug. So should we have a little head over, look at the stack I've got here? I've got a top 10 favourite books, and I'm pretty sure there's more that I've forgotten, but it's really hard going through your Goodreads. I read over 70 books this year. That's a fair amount. And so yeah, it's a lot to go through, so I'm sorry if I missed some out. Please remind me in the comments below and let me know what I forgot and what I talked about already and what I loved and what you loved. These are my top 10 books of this year. They are mostly YA. I am not ashamed to say it. I was like loving the YA this year in a big way. I'm not ashamed of that, but there is a little bit of adult in here, so I guess without further ado I should just start. Throne of Glass, one of my top books of this year. I mean, how can you like it? It's just the whole series. So I think I may have started, no, I'm pretty sure I read Throne of Glass like the full series this year, and it's just amazing. How could you not like Selena? I don't want this video to become like a review of all the books because I've pretty much, if it's on this list, I've probably mentioned it already this year because I couldn't help myself but talk about them. But if you don't know this, this is about Selena, who is an assassin in the Kingdom of Ardalan, and at the start of this book she's in like a slavery camp, and then the king comes and gets her and is like, babe, I need you to help me out because you're badass and you're the only one who can like kill this evil dude and like save us all and be like the King of Ardalan's assassin. And kind of goes on from there. That's kind of only the story of the first book, and then it gets bigger and better and bigger and better, and she's not an assassin anymore. She's not really ever an assassin. She's just like badass and amazing. And I'm not even doing it justice because I haven't read these books since the start of the year, so I don't know what to say about them anymore, except the fact that they're amazing. And I just read Tower of Dawn, which is the latest book in the series, and it's pretty amazing. I spent the first load of books hating Kale. Now I love him. Go and check out that review. And in fact, don't go and check out that review. Read all the series and then check out that review because that review is filled with spoilers. Okay, book 2 that I love this year is actually adult. Like, get me, I'm reading some adult fiction. I can do that stuff too. And it's a little bit like psychological thriller, and this is Nod by Adrian Barnes. I did a full-on review of this baby, so you can go and check it out. But basically the idea of it is that the lead character wakes up one day and the rest of the world has lost the ability to sleep. Like, they cannot fall asleep. Nobody can. It's pretty rubbish, because I like 10 hours a night, guys. Like, I am a full-on love my sleep sort of snoozy girl. And I can't actually imagine this world. It sounds really horrible, but he's the only one who can still stay awake. And apparently it takes about a month for you to die from sleep deprivation. Or in this book it takes a month. I don't know literally how long it takes. But as you can imagine, people start to get pretty jealous of the fact that he's the only one who can sleep, and people start to go a little bit crazy. There's a couple of cults in there. It's a pretty big mad show from about day 3 of the unable to sleepness. So check this out, it's creepy, and Adrian Barnes' description of eyes when they get tired turned my stomach 6 ways to Sunday. So if you're squeamish, I mean, look at the cover. Like, if you're squeamish, maybe not. Maybe just skirt over a couple of the bits and then keep reading. Third book that I loved is also an adult book. It is When Breath Becomes Air, and this book made me cry buckets. It's the only book that made me form actual tears, like actual streaming down my face. I can't cope with this. I am like deep breathing. That's how I cry. But yeah, this is the only book that made me do that. And it's basically written by a surgeon who, this is real, true life, by the way, guys. This is not like fiction. But this man, Paul Calantini, he finds out he's got cancer, and he writes this book from the perspective of himself, who is a surgeon, and he's writing about the journey through cancer and trying to deal with that, but also from a very scientific approach, because he is a surgeon and he has a medical degree, I hope, being a surgeon. Anyway, I'm not spoiling anything to let you know that he does die partway through the book, and his wife finishes it, and it's incredibly sad, but incredibly moving. And if you're gonna read one book that I recommend out of this pile, even though I probably enjoyed some of my other YA fantasy books more, this will change your life. In all the books that made me respect life and respect myself and respect just what we are doing on this planet, this was a big one in that. So big respect for this book, and one you should definitely look at. Bit weird to go from that to this, but the next one is the Selection series by Kiera Cass, which I read in like springtime because it seemed like a pretty springy book. And it was all sorts of girly, as you can expect from the front of the book, but this is kind of like, this kind of reminded me of Hunger Games, but like less dying. So the idea of the Selection series is that there is a prince. Obviously there's a girl in a dress on the front, obviously there's a prince, and there's lots of girls in the kingdom, and the prince needs to find a lady, but he isn't finding a lady and he wants true love. So his parents do a competition and they pick random girls throughout the land to come and live in the castle, and over the course of a few months he will have to choose a lady, and it'll be done on reality TV and all sorts of things, and it's called The Selection. Anyway, the lead character in this, she's a bit strong-willed, shall we say, and she doesn't really want to be involved in the selection. She is about the only person who doesn't care about the prince. So obviously she's our lead, because who wants to like look at some girl who really wants to be a princess? And that's a little bit boring. Anyway, it's really good and really funny, and I tore through these books. I can't remember how many there are, maybe like 3 or 4 of them, but I mean, it goes, yeah, so you've got the Selection, then you've got the Elite, then you've got the One. And it's really good. It's just really feel good, really easy to tear through, and one I would definitely recommend to anybody looking for an early read, especially in springtime. I loved reading these coming into spring. So Selection series are really great. Change in full spectrum again, we've got Frozen Charlotte, which I really don't need to talk about because I've spoken about Frozen Charlotte so much in the last month or so, because it's been Halloween, that you don't want to hear any more about it. Frozen Charlotte, I love it. It's mentioned in all of like my last 10 videos. Go and check it out. It's just, it's really creepy horror set in the Isle of Skye. It scared the pants off me, and it's like aimed at 13-year-olds, so yeah. So the next one we're going to talk about is The Dazzling Heights. This was out in September this year, and I waited a full year for this because I read The 1000th Floor last year on release day, and it was amazing. It's described in the marketing material as like Gossip Girl meets sci-fi, and it kind of is. It's like most of the world live in these high-rise buildings, like 1,000 floors high, hence the 1000th floor, and how high you are up the tower says your social status and social class. And so we've got a couple of girls in this. We've got 5 lead characters, and each chapter is written from a different girl's perspective, which makes the book super difficult to get along with in the first few chapters. You need to stick with it, because after you've read at least one chapter by each girl, slash guy actually, there are some guys that have chapters written about them, either way, you really start to understand the characters and start to love them. And so when I got to The Dazzling Heights after the 1000th Floor and all of the like drama, killing, sci-fi gadgetiness, and even a little bit of incest, my dears. So after all of that in the first book, I didn't know what was going to happen. There was quite a few different cliffhangers from the first book. So Dazzling Heights, I didn't know what to expect. I really learnt more about the characters in this book, and that's what I like about a sequel. It needs to really start to divulge a little bit of information which you were really yearning for in the first book. And this did that. It was great. It gave me more cliffhangers for the next book. I'm gonna be waiting another full year. I really hope there's a third one. Otherwise, Catherine McGee, I'm gonna come knocking on your door and get pretty darn angry. The 7th book that I'm going to talk about is A Court of Mist and Fury. I read the full A Court of Thorns and Roses series this year, and it was my best series of the year. It's amazing, you can't get enough of it. It's got fantasy, it's got different realms of like fae, battling the human world, battling like love triangles, battling each other. You've got the different courts, you've got like everything, and to tie it all off, you've got Rhys. Like, Sarah J Maas is a genius, and if I was ever to get brainwashed to like change my mind in any way, I would be hypnotized to make me forget these books so I could read them all over again. I think I have been happier, but I was pretty darn happy when I found out that there was another couple of these books coming out in the next few years. And I think I will continue to want to like eat my arm off to get these sooner. If anybody like watching this can get me an early copy, get me an early copy of the next book. I will love you forever. My next favourite book was Caravelle. I only read Caravelle in the past month, and I was sent it by the lovely people at Hodder. I actually bought this book, I think, at the start of this year or whenever the hardback came out, but I never read it because I hate reading hardbacks, and I don't know why I bought it, because I know that I hate reading hardbacks. So, in all honesty, when Hodder said, hey Imogen, you want to receive a paperback of Caravelle? I jumped at the chance. I was so excited, and I really wasn't disappointed. I can't believe I spent the whole year with this on my bookcase in a hardback and didn't read it. Huge mistake. I'm really annoyed at myself because this was phenomenal. It gave you so much vivid description of the fairground, of the characters, of the weird little mind games that were being played the whole way through. It was so gripping. I cannot wait for the second book. Basically, if you don't know, Caravelle, as you can tell from the front, it's like a carnival type thing. So it happens once a year or occasionally once every few years, and it's run by Legend. Legend, so the story goes, is a boy who years ago sold himself for magic in the hopes that it would impress a girl that he wanted to marry and he was absolutely in love with. Unfortunately, it all backfired, as magic always does, and when he got his wish, he got the magic, but he lost his little lady. And now he's turned a little bit bitter. And so the story goes, again, every time Caravelle comes around, which is his travelling show, every character that he plays in that, nobody knows what Legend looks like, by the way, but every character that he plays within that, he takes on a little bit of them himself. So if he plays evil characters, he becomes a little bit more evil. And our two female leads have been obsessed with Legend and with Caravelle for their whole lives, and they've always wanted to go, but it's invitation only. And they have an awful evil father who is very strangling, and they're trying to get away from him, and anyway, and blah 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 blah, loads of stuff happens, and eventually they get to go to Caravelle at the start of the book. And I'm really not going to tell you much more than that, because the reason that I loved Caravelle so much is because I read it without any knowledge of what was going to happen, or any knowledge of what the book was about, and I think that's totally how you should do this. So if you don't know anything about this book, pick it up today and read it. It's awesome, and especially good during the Christmas months because it kind of makes you feel all cozy, and because this is so descriptive, it's well worth it. Okay, my 9th favourite book, we're nearly at the end, guys, is Daughter of Smoke and Bone. This is not my favourite book, more so my favourite series, or one of my favourite series of this year. I'm really loving this. I've got about 20% to come, and the only thing I'm not liking about this series is this final book, because I don't like the Eliza chapters. I'm not going to explain the Eliza chapters, but if you've read the final book in this series, you will know the Eliza chapters and you'll know what I'm talking about. I just don't like them. So this is about a girl called Carew, and the way her human life blends with a little bit of an angel, hellish, mystical fantasy life, but it's not really fantasy. Because of the way the twists and turns work in this book, I can't really say much about it. All I can say is this is one of my highest recommends, and I'm gonna give the first 2 books 5 out of 5. The final book is probably gonna be a 4 because it's just odd chapters that I don't like. It's totally worth it. There is the most amazing love sequence in it. Totally worth checking out. And yeah, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, one of my favourite books of 2017. So my final book is The Silent Companions. You will all know how much I love this book because I've mentioned it so much recently, and I've gone all over the show, like photographing this on my Instagram and tweeting about it and all that sort of jazz. I loved it during Halloween. It was really creepy, not jumpy creepy like Frozen Charlotte, but more psychological creepy, like Silent Companions. Yeah. It's set from 3 different perspectives. So we have a diary extract perspective from one of her relatives, we have a story perspective, which is basically the modern day character writing a story about her past life, and so we're reading that at the same time as she's writing it, and then we have the modern day perspective, which shows the lead character in a psychiatric hospital. So loads of different perspectives to be looking at here, and loads of different creepiness to unveil. I mean, one of the perspectives is from a psychiatric hospital, which is never not scary, but also basically the idea is that this woman, the lead character, is pregnant and her husband has just died. She goes to their old family home, or her husband's old family home, and it just doesn't feel quite right. And when she goes exploring around the house, she finds a locked room at the back which has something inside. And I'm not going to go any further than that because you should read it and find out what is inside that door, or watch my review because I did one and it's good. Also, look at the front cover. Pretty sure I do that in my review video as well. I just love it. Like, look at that. We don't get enough pop-up-y type like interactive books as adults. It annoys me. Anyway guys, so they were my top 10 books of 2017. I also want to mention Genuine Fraud, which was very, very close to the point where I have it next to me right now, and as I was about to do my number 10, I was like flicking between the 2. So I couldn't decide if to mention it or not, but this book is great, and go and look at my review if you want to see why. So it's been an amazing year, guys. Thank you so much for like staying with me across this last year. I only really started filming videos at Christmas last year, so I feel like this is my 1-year anniversary video, which is pretty crazy. I saw the other day that one of my videos had got to 2,500 views, and I literally lost my... I could not believe it. It was like... It's amazing. You guys are phenomenal, and I'm so lucky to have you people watching my videos, even if it's like occasionally only 50 of you that tune in and watch, and I'm pretty sure 10 of those are myself. So I think on that note I should probably leave it and go away, and then I'm gonna tune in again in maybe a week and I'll show you the books that I am most excited to read next year. And there's quite a few, and there's quite a few YA, and there's a couple of adult as well, so keep your eyes peeled, my lovelies, and I will see you all shortly.